Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about TV host and former comedian Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon has been known to get a little controversial these days because he is very, very likely to support liberal politics and specifically the BLM Black Lives Matter movement. This has resulted in him getting wildly racist, actually, which is pretty ironic since they're claiming they want to stop racism and they want to help a certain group of people, but their main tactic and main plan is to bash another group of people and kind of treat us like they don't want to be treated. They're like kind of getting this like revenge kind of thing. We've seen people actually mention that in the movement saying, hey, you're lucky we don't want revenge. And I just kind of hear them saying that. And I'm like, actually, it kind of seems like you do. You act like you don't. You're saying you don't, but in your mind, you do want some kind of revenge. For what, though? I mean, we're talking about things that happened hundreds of years ago, racism that most of us didn't take any part in. I mean, especially the antiquated old stories from forever ago, but even, older generations, we're all getting punished for stuff that happened a long time ago. And at the same time, this group of people are trying to play victim to stuff that they never suffered from. I mean, Nick Cannon never suffered. This guy's rich and famous. He's been acting on TV for like 20 years. He started out on Wild and Out, and then he married Mariah Carey, and now he hosts The Masked Singer and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, if there's racism in this country, we're definitely not doing a good job because there's a lot of rich and famous Black people like Nick Cannon. But regardless of his success and regardless of him doing extremely well, he seems very angry and very negative. And that's what brings us to today's story. Today, we're going to talk about some recent quotes from Nick Cannon where he called some of us true savages. That's right. He's calling people savages and saying that, there's certain people that he really doesn't like. And we're going to talk about who and where he said this and all the details more soon. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. Recently, the Supreme Court has decided to not look at big Second Amendment cases, saying they won't hear appeals to several cases involving weapon laws. This has caused a blow to Second Amendment activists, and to combat this and to show our support for weapon owners, Beyond Patriots is doing a giveaway of their popular Second Amendment coin. This limited edition coin is beautifully engraved with pro-Second Amendment quotes and logos. It looks great, and normally these coins would retail for about $40, but now Beyond Patriots is giving these gold coins away for free just for this occasion. All you have to do is pay for shipping, which is an awesome deal for a really good quality collector item. Show your support for the Second Amendment community today by ordering your free Second Amendment gold coin. It's only guaranteed to be free while it's in stock, so hurry up and make sure you click our exclusive link below this video. As you can see, I got one of the coins myself. It comes in a nice little plastic case. You can also take the coin out and check out the gold on it. It's really, really nice. It looks cool, and you'll be supporting our Second Amendment rights, which is really important, more important now than ever. So make sure you guys check out that exclusive link below. Get yourself a free coin today, only pay for shipping. And now let's get back to the show. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's get to the Nick Cannon story. This tweet from the Daily Caller has more details. It says, closer to animals, Nick Cannon goes on racist, anti-Semitic rant, says white people and Jewish people are the true savages. Wow, this is really harsh, really misinterpretation of things, and also very interesting because it's like they always try to say that we're the racist people, like we're the ones that say hate Jewish people or think that other minorities are savage or something like that. But that's not the case. I mean, you're not really seeing these quotes from any kinds of people on our side. No conservatives are saying stuff like this. I'm certainly not seeing like crazy white people going after these minorities and saying things like this. But apparently Nick Cannon thinks this is okay. Nick Cannon thinks this is the cool thing to do. And it's just not surprising. I mean, already look at his getup. Like you could tell he's been getting woke lately. He wears like the Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King glasses now. He also always has a turban on for some reason. I don't know why he goes with that look, but he was doing that on The Masked Singer. That's a show I actually admittedly watch. I watch The Masked Singer with the family. It's pretty good, pretty fun sometimes. But the thing that killed me the most was Nick Cannon and him wearing silly things like this. So, I mean, that's besides the point, but it just goes to show that we're not dealing with like a serious person. The article has more details. It says this. America's Got Talent host Nick Cannon delivered a racist, anti-Semitic rant in a June 30 episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class. Cannon hosted rapper Professor Griff, whose record of anti-Semitic comments is well documented. for an interview in which they promoted anti Semitic conspiracies about Jewish families secretly controlling the world and claimed that black people can't be anti Semitic because they're the real Semitic people. Okay, now we're getting into some real weeds here. We're talking about these again. This is what's so funny to me because this is stuff I've been accused of. I've seen plenty of conservatives get called out for this, like saying, oh, we think there's this conspiracy of people controlling the media and controlling this. And, they have these things they try to pin on us. They try to call us anti Semitic, but it's just so funny to see them being the real offensive ones. Like they're the ones that are saying this about Jewish people. They're the ones that are later going to say stuff about white people being like savage or something like that. So this is really ridiculous already. And it's just funny because it's like Nick Cannon somehow he gets away with it. I guess because he's black, like you can't get call out a black person in this day and age. But I mean, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say that this is wrong. This is a bad message to send. He is a big representative figure in this community too. Like he hosts a lot of TV shows. Like I was saying, I forgot about America's Got Talent. We already said how he hosted a Masked Singer. He's been on all these other shows. I think Wild and Out is back on TV or coming back. It's been back and forth. So he's on TV all the time. He's getting tons of work, which he should. Like, I'm not trying to say he should get fired, but what I will say is if anyone else said something like this, they would get fired. Like, the cancel culture is real big right now, and it's really bad. And it's just funny that it's not coming down on certain people. If you're a liberal, if you're a minority, you get a free pass. Like, even if you might want to cancel someone else for something lesser, like this kind of thing would get anyone on my side canceled. But that's the hypocritical world we're living in. In order for me to be anti Semitic, I'd have to be anti black man, anti black woman, anti black people, anti Africa, anti all other people, Griff said, because the Semitic people are black people, Cannon added. Cannon and Griff spoke positively of Nation of Islam leader Luis Farrakhan, a notorious anti Semite, throughout the interview, which has garnered more than 250,000 views on YouTube alone. So this sounds like a very interesting video. This is another interesting figure to support. This is a guy who's, he's just very, very offensive. He's a notoriously hates Jewish people. He's supported like 1940s Germans outright, like quoting their terrible leader from World War II. I mean, this guy is radical. These guys are real. Nick Cannon is more radical than you think. He seems like a kind of normal, squeaky clean guy. He seems like nice on TV, but then he's got this dark, dark mind in the background. It's kind of insane. When you have a person who has the lack of pigment and the lack of melanin, that they know they will be annihilated. Therefore, they know that however they got the power, they have a lack of compassion. Melanin comes with compassion, Cannon said. I don't even know what to say about that. That's just some gibberish, like hippy dippy crap right there. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are, and I'm going to say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, and I'm going to bring it back around to Minister Farrakhan, where they may not have the compassion, he added. So this is like getting into the realm of like, oh, they're saying other people are like defective races almost. They're like saying, oh, we don't have the melanin. We don't have this characteristic, this trait. So that's why their race is better than ours. I mean, this is like a supremacist kind of argument. They're literally saying, oh, these parts of our race make us better than this race. Inherent traits. They're talking about these really bad things and they're using quotes from bad people. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to face. I kind of am shocked that it's gone this far already. And the other thing worth mentioning is before we get too far, this is definitely a we was kings kind of argument. We was kings is like this meme from a few years back. And it's also been going on in the background for years. Like basically there's these kinds of radical black people that think they were like the kings of everything. Like they were kings and they were like, this is why they say stuff like they were the original Jewish people, like Jesus was black. Like they kind of just rewrite history and make it seem like, oh, black people were always in charge. Like they were the kings. They were in charge of this country. They were Jesus, like everything. They like try to claim everything and like rewrite the history. It's just this like kind of delusional rewrite, like a retcon, because I think a lot of it goes back to the fact that they have some kind of trouble with their past. They have problems dealing with things like, the history of American slavery, stuff like that, offensiveness, like bad history and track records within their families and their race. And like, it just happens to be their way to cope. They're coping by like rewriting the history and acting like, oh no, we were cool. We were cool. We got to make this thing up. And I just see it as a sign of weakness. When they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, they didn't have the power of the sun. The sun started to deteriorate them. So they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self esteem. They're acting out of deficiency. So therefore, the only way they can act as evil can and continued. Scholars have long debunked the pseudoscientific claim that skin melanin levels are linked to intellectual ability. So we have a kind of real proof from some scholars here in an attached article. This is just, yeah, like I said, this is just kind of made up kind of conspiracy theory. It's just like stuff that some people think is fun to talk about. And the problem is when you're Nick Cannon, you have this big platform, you have a podcast on the side of like hosting all these shows. So he's kind of like slipping up. And you could even say like the mask is slipping. I hate that phrase. That's what they usually use against us. But let's flip it around. I mean, Nick Cannon's mask is definitely slipping here. He's like showing his true colors. They have to rob, steal, kill, and fight in order to survive. So these people who didn't have what we have, and when I say we, I speak of melanated people, they had to be savages. They had to be barbaric because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments. So they're acting as animals. So they're the ones closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages, Nick said in the video. So again, I think that's another thing. Like they're trying to flip the script, like change the story. Like they know that there were times where people called African savages, like that's a thing that's been called out before. And, it's not something I would say or say now, certainly, but that's the kind of meme that this originated from. And now Nick's trying to flip it around and point it at white people. He's also trying to act like, it goes along with the We Was Kings stuff. Like We Was Kings has this idea that, everything is rewritten and the history is flipped and reversed. It's kind of like an alternative timeline. It's almost like watching like Black Panther and Wakanda, like they think Wakanda's real, is kind of where this is going. So I say all that to say the context when we speak of Jewish people, white people, Europeans, the Illuminati, they were doing that as survival tactics to stay on this planet, Cannon added. Anti-Semitic rant was first highlighted by a Jewish blogger on Sunday. Cannon previously hosted Nation of Islam Representative Minister Tony Muhammad on his podcast, where Muhammad called for a separate black state. We want Caucasians in this government to give a separate state or territory like you did Israel, Muhammad said. Cannon's personal website lists his publicist as W&W Public Relations, but W&W executive Karen Lee told the Daily Caller News Foundation that they don't represent Cannon and don't have a contract for his publicist. A request for comment through Cannon's website wasn't returned, so they tried reaching them. Apparently, he hasn't updated his information on the website, blah, blah, blah. But the more interesting part is this separate state. Like, they want to have their own ethno state. Like, everything in this article is what they accuse white people of, like white supremacists, and what they would go down to the alt-right about and stuff like that. But the problem is that stuff is basically non-existent. Like, there's no main big figures talking about that at all. Like, it's like very much like fringe, like a few little radicals who have already been kicked off of every single website. So they're not getting supported and promoted. Like, Nick Cannon is like this major figure, has this podcast, YouTube channel. He has, all these other shows that he has hosting and all these gigs. And he's promoting like this craziness, this crazy black ethno state, anti-Jewish, anti-white people are savages. It's really insane. And I think the more that people talk about it, the more we could see and expose this kind of anti-white, anti-American racism. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about Nick Cannon, his guest choices, what they talked about, and whether or not you think any of these conspiracy theories are true. Also, hit the like button to get this thing shared, subscribe if you're new, and check out our second channel, NoBS News, for extra videos every week. Until next time, have a great day.